Welcome back to IC University. Robert Greene dropped so many gems that we had to cut it into 2 parts. So make sure you stay tuned, take some notes, because here comes Robert Greene again. Enjoy. Okay, so for my third question, has social media changed how you maneuver as it relates to power?
Well, I was kind of answering that before a little bit. It's a double-edged sword. So it's this vehicle for transmitting yourself all around the world, you know? Believe me, I'm the last person who admires this person I'm about to mention. He was probably the most detestable person in the last 5 years. I'm talking about Donald Trump. But he mastered the law of court attention at all costs. He mastered the use of Twitter, right? And I remember traveling around the world. I would be in Singapore, I would be in not Saudi Arabia, in the Emirates. And people were obsessed with Donald Trump, right? Even if they hated him, they could only think about him, right? And that was sort of a P.T. Barnum law. It's better to have attention than no attention at all, right? It's better to have people hate you than to be ignored. And he was master at it. He made everybody so obsessed with him. So if you can imagine that if he had been born 50 years ago, he would have been nowhere because he had no vehicle for transmitting his image all around the world. But right now you have this insane power to get people fascinated and obsessed with you all around the world. It's an immense tool in your hand, right? And so the degree that you understand the spirit of the times, what is called the zeitgeist, which is something I talk about in my last book, The Laws of Human Nature. If you understand the period that we're going through, people's tastes and how they're evolving, right? Which is absolutely, you know how quickly things are changing in the world right now? Like trends, things that were trending 2 years ago are completely obsolete now. So you have to be on top of those trends. You have to be on top of how their tastes are changing. And so if you're on top of that, if you can see where the wave is cresting next, what's going to happen in the next few weeks or months, the power is endless, right? So, you know, for instance, we've all been cooped up for a year under COVID or longer than a year, right? And all kinds of businesses have been devastated or gone. But there are needs now that people have for socializing, for entertainment, for what's the next thing that's going to, you know, get them out of the depression that they've been feeling, the gloom that's pervaded us. If you could think about that, right? And I tell people who I advise in business, the next wave is people are looking for experiences. They just don't want to travel to some place and sit on a beach. They want some kind of immersive experience. And that's the future of entertainment. That's the future of any kind of, you know, of traveling experience. You're really good at that. You're always thinking about the future, the next trend. And so if you're someone who's forward thinking, who can keep your finger on the pulse, the power of social media is absolutely insane what it can do for you. On the other hand, the double-edged sword, it could cut you into little tiny pieces.
In a matter of a second.
Yeah. So you have to be aware of the immense power of this tool, and you have to be aware of the immense dangers of it at the same time, and be kind of dancing on the edge of that sword, which I think you're pretty good at.
It's definitely something that I think about. And for my last question, this is a question that I often have troubles with answering myself, because with either answer, there's so many pros and cons. So for my last question, would you rather be feared or loved?
I'm coming in fast. First place, you coming in last. I'm hitting that gas. I'm hitting that.
Well, you know, that's a famous expression of Machiavelli, who's kind of my icon.
Prince Machiavelli, yes.
Yes, he wrote, you know, The Prince. Tupac, you know, took the name from him. And he was sort of the inspiration for the 48 Laws of Power. And he's told the prince, it's better to be feared than loved.
Yes.
And the reason is, if people love you, they can turn on you tomorrow, right? Love is very unstable. You can't really hold on to it. You can't keep people's love. You can't force them to love you, right? And if you do something wrong, they'll turn their attention elsewhere, and you have no control over that. But if they're afraid of you, you're the one in power, you're the one in control. They don't have the ability to go somewhere else, because if they do, they're going to be in trouble. They're going to pay a price for that, right? So he says it's better to be feared than loved.
What do you think?
Well, if I were a boss, I would know that you don't want to be too intimidating. You don't want to be yelling. You don't want people too afraid of you. But you want an element of fear. You want an element of respect. And respect has that edge of a slight bit of intimidation to it, right? But for me personally, I'm not a CEO. I'm not a boss. I don't have people working for me. I have a public. And what I want is I want people to be fascinated by me, right? I don't need their love, really. I need their attention. I need them to be going, what's Robert going to do next? So I know personally that if I'm too out there, I've been offered, for instance, to do podcasts and things like that. And I worry a little bit about exposing myself too much. So if I hold back and people don't know everything about me, I think there's a level of fascination, I hope. Or I could be totally wrong, maybe not. But that's what I want. I want respect and fascination. So to me, the secret for power is that I write a book and I make it the best thing I can. I give it everything I have, right? It's like a basketball player like Kobe Bryant, God bless him, who gives everything he has on the court, right?
Yes.
Holds nothing back. When I write a book, it's like an athletic experience. I have to give everything I possibly can to it to make it so good that people, want to read it, and their reputation begins to build, where the next thing may be even better that he produces. So I don't want people to be afraid of me, because as a writer, I don't get any value from that. I want them to feel a bit of fascination or obsession with my image or with what I produce.
Well, because of your influence with business, entertainment, everyday lives, such as mine myself, I would say you are definitely a fascinating person. And while we have all of these eyeballs on us right now, please tell us what you have coming up next.
Well, I have a book coming out in the fall called The Law of Daily Laws. And basically, a guy who used to work for me, who was my kind of I was his mentor, is Ryan Holiday, who you might have heard of. He had a book called The Daily Stoic, which is basically every day of the year you read a passage that kind of inspires and teaches you and instructs you. And then you go through the whole year. Well, we've done the same thing. I worked with Ryan on this. For me, taking passages from my books that we've organized in a certain logic to it, and also new material that I've created and things from interviews. And every day you're going to read a passage that's going to hopefully inspire you, instruct you, and make you look at the world differently. And the book is structured to kind of take you through how to master your career, how to deal with power situations and manipulative people, how to be seductive and have influence over others, and then how to understand human nature on a higher level.
So many gems were dropped in this interview. As a fan, as a reader, as a student, it has been such a pleasure to have Robert Greene. And if you've been living under a rock and don't know his work, please go look it up. His Instagram is Robert Greene Official, and his Twitter is Robert Greene. Look up them books, and it can provide a lot of insight when it comes to your love or business life. Robert Greene, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, sweetie. I really enjoyed it. It's wonderful.
I enjoyed it as well.
Thank you.
See you guys later. Ultimate power lies in balancing accessibility with mystery. Social media is a slave to no man, but if you learn its habits, you will definitely come out on top.
I know that's right.
I know that's right, smooches. Make sure you stay behind for a quick pop quiz on how to stay hot on social media. It's Professor Icy, and I'm gonna see y'all later.
What are the laws to mastering social media? A. Public seduction. B. Be an object of desire. C. Absence increases respect and honor. D. All of the above. all of the above.